Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. The first Orange Bowl in Oregon football history is less than 2 days away.
And as the Ducks flew south, so did our Orlando Sanchez, who joins us live from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. Orlando, a little bird told us you caught up with the team after practice today.
Yeah, and they've had a lot to talk about. The Oregon Ducks opening and kicking off 2026 right here in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. That's also home to the NFL's Miami Dolphins, and it's the site of the 2026 Orange Bowl. Now, the Ducks back in the college football playoff quarterfinal for the second straight year. But unlike last season, they don't have to worry about that long layover between games. Built for the moment.
Experiencing that adversity, I think, has just prepared us for these bigger games.
A year in the making.
You know, thinking on last year, it's kind of fueled us a little bit to get to where we are now. You know, that feeling, it sucks, just honestly. So just doing everything to not feel that again.
This time around, the circumstances much different leading up to the quarterfinals.
Definitely different. You know, less time off. I think that's been a benefit for our players. Staying in sequence in rhythm. It's a lot easier to maintain that rhythm for us, but definitely a difference.
Texas Tech will be faced with the rest versus rust challenge. They haven't played a game in 3.5 weeks. The Ducks want to set the tone.
Tech's a really strong team. You know, even if you look at them deep in the fourth quarter, they've really beat their teams by a heavy margin in the fourth quarter. So it's about playing a four-quarter battle, but that starts with starting fast.
Yeah, and Texas Tech's head coach even telling us they're going to have to weather the storm. They know what's coming, especially after not playing a game in 3.5 weeks. Now, one advantage for the Red Raiders is that their quarterback has been dealing with a leg injury, so this was more time for him to recover. Now, if we go back to last year in the college football playoff, every team that had a bye lost their first game. So I know Ducks fans are hoping that trend is their friend when the Ducks kick off 2026 right here in Miami. David?
Yeah, the excitement is real. Orlando Sanchez all the way in Florida. We cannot wait for kickoff. Thanks, Orlando.
All right, and speaking of the weather, Matt Zafito, 70 degrees in the Sunshine State today. You know, it's not too bad here. It's chillier, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, we may not be Florida warm, but it's been a warm month of December here in Portland. In fact, we are on track to have our warmest December ever if you look at the average temperature for the entire month. Now, this is only through yesterday because we can't include today yet because it's not over. And the mornings, this morning and tomorrow morning, cold and may bring that average down a bit. But again, even if we're not the first, this will be at least one of the warmest Decembers we've ever had. Same thing for Vancouver, Salem, Eugene, and Hillsborough. It's just been warm, and as you know, it's been really wet. We've had over 8.5 inches of rain, but we finally got enough snow to get ski season going. They're night skiing up at Timberline. You see the Bruno's chair is running there. Temperatures out of, well, up to 49 degrees. Wow, it just surged on up a little bit there, interestingly enough. Okay, we've had strong gusty winds too. Corbett, a gust of 65, Crown Point 62, Troutdale 47, that's the east side of town. It's been blustery on the east side of Portland today, but these winds will begin to back off later on this evening. So we get one more cold morning with areas of frost where it's not windy. If it's windy, you'll stay above freezing. It's too dry, you won't have any frost. But with no wind, 20s and areas of frost. Dry through tomorrow night. Then we begin to get showers on Thursday, and that may fall into cold air in eastern Oregon to produce areas of freezing rain. We'll touch more on that later, guys.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Well, it's a new information tonight as the referendum challenging much of Oregon's transportation funding package officially qualifies for the November ballot. The so-called Stop the Gas Tax referendum, led by a couple of Republican state lawmakers, needed just over 78,000 signatures. And today, the Secretary of State's office said well over 160,000 were verified. That means the planned hikes to the gas tax, payroll tax, title fees, and some registration fees will be paused until voters have their say. It also means that ODOT finds itself in dire financial straits yet again, which lawmakers will no doubt be debating during the upcoming short legislative session.
And as nightly temperatures drop, Portland is reevaluating when fire crews should let campfires burn, while neighbors worry that one spark could lead to disaster.
Let's bring in Blair Best live downtown outside Portland Fire Station 1 with those details. Blair?
So the city is reviewing its policy around warming fires. Meanwhile, Portland Fire and Rescue is changing how it responds by allowing homeless people to burn small, low-risk contained fires. But I'm told that is on a case-by-case basis and ultimately left up to the firefighters' discretion. But some people argue that a small fire can get out of control. Take a look at this video. It shows a Southeast Portland apartment complex in flames after a fire at a nearby homeless camp spread. That was last year. People in the Pearl District this year say officials have not been responding to the open fires popping up in their neighborhood lately. Fire officials tell us they have modified their response in some cases to allow people to use a small fire to stay warm and cook food.
These warming fires are being set at the base of the perimeter of the buildings, which is hazardous to the structure. But we don't get any response from Portland Fire because it's not a high priority.
If all the information aligns with what we consider a low-risk fire, we could permit that to continue without even responding.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, actually, yeah, because I know quite a few times, like, we had the fire truck come around and, hose our stuff down.
Now, first responders will try and connect people with shelter, but emergency warming centers are not currently open in Multnomah County. However, a city spokesperson tells me that this year they're working more closely than ever with the county to keep city-run shelters open 24/7 during cold weather events. Back to you.
Blair Best downtown. Thanks, Blair.
In your headlines, new details in a Hillsborough homicide investigation. Saturday afternoon, officers responded to a disturbance call near Southeast TV Highway and 18th Avenue. They found a 41-year-old man shot to death inside a car. Officers tracked down and arrested 32-year-old Oscar Ruiz Santiago during a traffic stop at South Meadows Middle School. Investigators say Santiago and the victim knew each other. Santiago now faces murder and multiple weapons charges.
New tonight, we have learned the name of the man shot and killed by Vancouver police officers over the weekend. The Clark County Medical Examiner says 44-year-old Perry Sellers died from gunshot wounds to his torso. When police responded to the home Saturday just before midnight, they say a man was outside pointing a gun at a woman inside the home and that he had fired at least one round. They allege Sellers then turned the gun toward them, and that's when they opened fire. Washington's Office of Independent Investigations is now reviewing that use of force.
In Portland, an 18-year-old and a juvenile are in custody accused of shooting a man last night. It happened just before 11 o'clock along Northeast Gleason near I-205. Officers found a 51-year-old man had been shot, though he is expected to survive. Alejandro Manduano is charged with attempted murder, among other things. The juvenile is also facing charges like assault.
In an update, we're learning more about what appear to be power surges in Northeast Portland when several of you reached out to us to report the lights in your neighborhood were flickering on and off. Well, today Pacific Power telling us it is related to repair work on a substation dating back to fire damage in early September. It turns out some customers were connected to adjoining stations in order to keep the lights on. But after the surges last night, the utility sent crews back out today to make more adjustments, which they say should fix that issue moving forward.
And finally, former Oregon football head coach Chip Kelly is headed back to college football and the Big Ten Conference. He was named the new offensive coordinator at Northwestern today. Most recently, Kelly was in the NFL calling plays for the Las Vegas Raiders, but he was fired just before Thanksgiving after a 2-9 start. Kelly spent 4 seasons as head coach of the Ducks from 2009 to 2012.
To a tough and understandably traumatic afternoon for one family who witnessed the remains of their son being removed from Portland's cemetery plot after the cemetery accidentally sold the same piece of land twice.
Tim Gordon is here with us now. Tim, this involved a lengthy court battle and, of course, heartache for the family.
And Christine, the heartache continues. This is not something Tiber Harrison's family wanted to do, but legally they had no choice. And we want to warn viewers, some of the video shows the disinterment happening this afternoon. This is a story we've been following for a few years now. Harrison was a 20-year-old college student when he was hit and killed by a car in Florida in 2016. In 2021, his mother bought a plot at Skyline Memorial Gardens on the top of a bluff and buried a memorial vault there, which includes some of her son's cremated remains. After that, the cemetery realized it had previously sold the same plot to the Reeser family, who didn't want to give it up. So the cemetery filed a lawsuit against Tiber's mom, Paula, to force a disinterment of Tiber's memorial vault. The cemetery won. That led to today, and the very difficult time for Tiber's mom, 3 siblings, and other family and friends who gathered to see his remains and memorial items removed from the earth. And a 1,500-pound granite bench, also part of the memorial, lifted away. A mother reliving extreme grief and angry she's being forced to find a new home for her son. We spoke with her husband after the process was complete.
I would describe it as the third time she had to bury her son, to experience that just brutal pain. And it was done so in a way that, underlined a level of cruelty and inhumanity. I think there's a great deal of anger. I think that, bigger picture, this company should not be able to perform business this way.
So we received a statement from Skyline's parent company, Dignity Memorial, saying they wouldn't be commenting. As for Tiber's family, they plan to continue looking into an appeal of the lawsuit decision that led to this. Back to you.